One project we've been working on recently combines a number of two-bedroom homes into a three-story stack, which allows us to use land more carefully and achieve a lot more for the budget. The thing about stacking containers is they're so fast and so cheap and so strong that this entire structure is a fraction of the cost of doing it with conventional building. Another huge advantage is you can build these off the site and on the ground, saving all that scaffolding and trouble. One of the biggest changes globally in the building industry is modularity, building it at a dedicated site and then taking them and delivering them to site. It just happens containers are the best way to deliver a house. My own background is that I was raised in Alaska, and when I was a kid we had the second largest earthquake in recorded history. The interesting thing is, now living in New Zealand for most of my life, we're still on the Ring of Fire. So my work in New Zealand was very much focused on high-end design. I designed beautiful big homes, and then we started our own building company and we built these homes, and a cabinet making company to do the interior fit-outs. Later on in New Zealand I came to design the interiors of several super yachts, and interestingly the super yacht, although it's very expensive, is very small. So it was really bringing together what I'd learned in the super yacht, making a small space really effective and beautiful, and the strength and the advantages of the shipping container in being able to build it off-site, bring it on-site, and just Lego block the structure together. So why would we choose the container? Firstly, the container network is, after the internet, the most important network on the planet. During lockdown, containers kept moving. We kept exporting and importing. If we didn't, we'd be in serious trouble. So a container can stack 8 stories high, fully loaded. That's 25 tons per unit. That's pretty amazing. It can span and it can cantilever without any additional engineering being required. This allows us to make very interesting structures with very little cost. They can travel by ship, by train, by truck. The factories that build the containers are all under the International Standards Organization, ISO, which means there's no cheap, tacky version of a container. They are welded together with MIG welding, and basically a weld is stronger than the bits you're putting together. You've got 2 bits of metal, and the weld is thicker. But it's not like you've got a nail or a screw or a bit of glue. The weld is the same material as the steel. So it's all one unit. This is called a unibody. Each container has to be licensed to take many tons on the roof, incredible forces working against it, which means the structure itself is way above the building standard. You may remember when the Rena went aground in Tauranga, we had a first-hand insight into the strength of containers. So the ones at the bottom being crushed are reefers, styrofoam, aluminum, rubbish. We don't use them. So you're seeing 2 bolts holding what's probably 200 to 300 tons of weight. And shipping containers are made with Corten steel. Corten steel is a copper steel alloy which rusts superficially but does not rust right through. Containers are also very quick to deploy, as we saw in Christchurch after the big earthquakes. They basically rebuilt the shopping infrastructure with containers. So after a lot of thinking and research and designing, we built our first house, which was just 3 containers. And we call this Generation 1 because in those days we took old containers and we covered the outside of them. But the inside of this house is absolutely beautiful. Bamboo, hand-woven grass. Our second project was a lake house. We used plywood on the outside and on the directional strand board on the interiors. Then we went on to second generations where we used brand new containers. So we want to give an overview of the entire process in the workshop, but more particularly to focus on the woodwork, the interior fit out. We'll be using plywood. My own background was fitting out yachts, so I was really into the woodwork side. We will be showing the actual skills involved, and you'll actually be making the cabinetry. Please email me, chris@earthcube.co.nz, and give me an outline of whether you can do a week or 2 weeks or just a few days a week, and then we will set up the actual workshops around the availability of the people involved. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.